Believe it or not, Americans are generally positive thinking people. I know that's probably hard for you to believe when you look around and you see all the negativity, but for the most part, when it pertains to us and our lives, we don't necessarily think of ourselves as being, heading in the wrong direction, for example. Sometimes we might even get delusional about it, but we like to think, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. Because generally they usually are, except, of course, right now and for the last couple of years, they've certainly seemed like for I think most people, they've seen like things are heading in the wrong direction, which is why when we see this poll that just popped up recently, it is much more discouraging than it even sounds. It comes from the Epoch Times. I have it partially published over at jdrucker.com. Majority of Americans feel worse off now than 4 years ago. A new Gallup poll reveals that more than half of Americans feel worse off financially than they did 4 years ago. The survey, released on October 18th, found that 52% of U.S. adults believe their financial situation has deteriorated since 2020, while 39% feel they are better off. Now, here's the thing. The reality, and when we look at it statistically, the vast majority of Americans, their revenue versus the cost of living, it's everybody's upside down compared to even 2020. And if we go back to 2019, the number goes through the roof. Of course, 2020 was the year of the pandemic, yada, yada, yada. So I guess there's a little bit there, but even the fact that 52% recognize how bad things are for them, the fact that only 39% believe that they're better off. In reality, that number's probably, if you take away the hopium or the positive nature of humans, that number is probably closer to about 25%, seriously. In other words, somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 Americans believe that they truly believe that they are better off, or at the very least, are better off, possibly. And, there's a lot of rich people that are far better off today than they were back in 2020. But I would say that your average middle-class adult is not better off. Perhaps some people got raises, great, but did the raises compensate for the increase in cost of living? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Maybe they got promotions, maybe they got different jobs, maybe they got their first job. Who knows what made them think that? But the fact that it's 39%, usually that number, by the way, is approximately 50% or higher. Okay? Any given year, especially an election year, you ask that same question, and it's always reversed. In other words, it's always over 50% of Americans feel that they're better off now than they were 4 years ago. And you look back, of course, obviously you'd have to go all the way back to the Jimmy Carter years and the Reagan election in 1980, when it's like, okay, yeah, no, it was bad. Then people were not better off in 1980 than they were in 1976. So this poll is a little bit discouraging, but it makes you wonder, how in the world could there possibly be, if 52% realize they're not better off, why would so many people allegedly be willing to vote for Kamala Harris? Back to the article. A similar Gallup poll taken at the tail end of the Trump presidency in September 2020 found this sentiment roughly reversed, with 56% saying they were better off and only 33% saying they were worse off than 4 years prior. Partisan divides were stark in the latest poll, with 90% of Republicans feeling worse off compared to just 16% of Democrats. Now, that's just not true. They are worse off. They know they're worse off. They're lying. Crucially, 55% of independents, a pivotal voting bloc in the close 2024 election, feel worse off, with only 35% saying their financial situation has improved. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. What we're facing right now, it's not left versus right. It's not even, technically speaking, if we really want to dig down deep, it's not even truth versus lies. This really is a question of good versus evil. And right now, the evil side is taking a whole lot of people, because 39% believing they're better off. That means there's millions, tens of millions of Americans who are either delusional, lying, or both. And this is what we have to face, because if this election doesn't go the way that we hope it does, if Kamala Harris allegedly wins, then that number is going to go way, way down. It won't be 39% claiming that they're better off. It will be closer to 3%, because the only people that are going to be better off if Kamala Harris wins are the super rich. Regardless of where you saw that clip, the best place to watch any of my stuff is to subscribe to me on Rumble, jdrucker.com/rumble. That's jdrucker.com/rumble.